Hey crafty friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm playing with the Stampin Up YouTube Village and Greetings of the Season stamp sets, and I'm making some Christmas cards. I'm going to make 4 Christmas cards, and I'm going to try to keep these pretty quick and easy because I've been playing a lot with this set. I've been making scene cards and playing with coloring them. And I really had a good time doing this. Like, these cards are detailed, they take a long time. I have another video where I share this one and show how I did the sky, the snow, and the coloring on the church, which I actually really like the way that came out. And then I have another video, which is a class video on coloring the different elements in this card. And this stamp set, again, is called Yuletide Village. This one is called Greetings of the Season. In today's video, I'm also going to be playing with this falling snow embossing folder. I've got the deckled circles, and I've got the Greetings of the Season dies, and I love these. So those are the goodies that I'm playing with today. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to do was to run a couple of pieces of, I have this pretty peacock cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I want to run it through my embossing folder. So I thought I'd just start by just running one piece through the embossing folder. And I want to try a couple different techniques, and I'm going to be using this craft ink, this white craft ink. This is a very old ink pad. I just keep refilling it and reusing it. And when my re-inker runs out, I just get a new re-inker. I'm going to start by running a piece of this pretty peacock. This is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to run this through my embossing machine here, and I'm just going to put this in the embossing folder. I always run these through with the Stampin' Up logo facing up, and I need 2 plates. I need my platform. Then you put the embossing folder in. This is platform number 1, by the way. You put the embossing folder in fold first, and then you take plate number 4, which is the dark gray one, and just run that through. Just like that. When you take it out, you've got this beautiful falling snow, just like that. Now I do want to try, I have a very old craft white ink pad, so I don't know how this will work. It's really old. I just re-inked it, and I want to just lightly pull this across the top, and you really need to do it very lightly so it just grabs a hold of the embossed parts. If you do it too hard, and I'll show you in a minute because you'll be able to see the spots that don't work. There we go. You can get a little bit of white on that ink pad, or on the embossing, so it makes that snow stand out a little bit more. If you push down too hard, you get little streaks. They almost look like comets, like a comet looks when it goes across the sky there, because you get these little tails. So you want to be careful not to push down too hard because you don't want that. So it's very light hand. I tried it with one of Stampin' Up sponges. I cut it into a few pieces, and the sponge didn't work very well because I definitely got more streaks on it, and I was trying for less streaks. So that's my background right there. That's going to be the background of my little scene. And the next thing I just want to do is I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock. Again, I've cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to take the church. You can take any of the buildings that you want. I really like the church one, and I really need to get this on here straight. So let me straighten this out a little bit. Okay, so I have the church on one of my clear blocks, and I believe this is a size D clear block. Somewhere it tells, yep, that's a size D. And I use my memento because I do want to use some, I do definitely want to use some of my blends to color this in a little bit. And I really find that I have to make sure I get the center of this stamp inked up well with my ink pad, so the whole thing comes out. So I'm going to stamp this right down like this. And then I'm going to take a few of my Stampin' Blends. I've got my light and dark copper clay. I'm going to take my dark black. I'll pull out my light black, and I'm going to color in with the bullet tip, like the edges of the roof. This is the dark black, like this. And I'm going to do the little windowsills on those two windows, and I'm going to color in a part of the roof up here like that, and I think that's all I want to do in black. I am going to take a journaling pen, and I'm going to do the around this window with the journaling pen, because I found that even the bullet tip was too wide for that. So I'm just using a much thinner tipped journaling pen, and you can't even tell that I used something different with that. Okay, so I'm going to use the dark copper clay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that dark copper color along the right hand side of the steeple, and then I'm going to fill it in with the light. And I will go back in with the dark because I want to add a little bit of the dark under each of these. I really want the dark to show up a little more. And there's not a huge difference between the light and the dark, but I do want that to show up. So that was the copper clay. Then I'm going to take out my light pecan pie and my light crumb cake. And, oops, I forgot. I usually do this part in copper also. So I'm going to do a little dark on the edges there, and then I'll do a little bit of light in the middle. Get all of that colored in. So I'm going to take this light pecan pie, and I'm just going to go around the top and the right hand side of the door, and then I'm going to go down where the doors meet. And then I'm going to fill it in with light crumb cake. Just like that. And I'm going to pull out my smoky slates and my gray granite. And let's take the dark smoky slate, and I'm going to use the bullet tip, and I'm going to do some stippling. And the stippling is just dots. In the path, so I'll hold this up so you can see it. I left lots of white space between because now I want to take the dark smoky slate and I want to add, oops, I want the bullet tip. I want to add some dark spots in there. A few dark spots. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the dark smoky slate to the edges of each step. And I'm going to pull in the light smoky slate and fill in any white spots on the path. And I'll fill in the center of the steps. I'm going to grab my light Daffodil Delight and my dark mossy meadow. So I've got light Daffodil Delight and dark mossy meadow, and then I'm going to take my dark poppy parade. I'm going to use the light Daffodil Delight for the windows, so it looks like all the lights are on in the church. You could do these like a stained glass if you wanted to in a variety of colors. That would be fun. And then the dark mossy meadow, I'm going to use the bullet tip and just fill in the wreath. And I'm just using tiny little dots just to fill it in so I don't go. So I use tiny little dots to fill it in so I don't go outside it, and then I'm going to use that dark poppy parade for the bow. I'm going to grab that light crumb cake, and with the light crumb cake I'm just going to go and I'm going to do some shading on the church. I'm going to shade under that steeple, then I'm going to shade under the roof on all the different sides of the building, and I'm going to shade on each side of this like church entryway here, and I'll do under the windows and a little bit on the right hand side of each window also. Just want to give it a little dimension, and then I'm going to very lightly do some flicks. I'll do one on the right hand side, one on the left, all the way down, and I'm going to do it on the sides. And this kind of gives you the hint of like siding and or stonework or something. Like that. And that's what you get there. So you get a little bit of interest. Then I have my light balmy blue, and I'm going to just shade around the edges. This is the lightest blue that I have. And I'm going to shade around the edges of the snow and put a couple flicks inside on the larger spots. And I'm going to do the same thing with this little bank and this little snow mound. And I'm going to add some to the tree in a couple of spots. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the ground, just under the mound part, around that little path. And just giving it a little bit of color will make it look more like snow. And then I'm going to do some flicks. Like that. And I forgot to do the tree when I had the mossy meadow out, so I'm going to pull that mossy meadow out again, and I'm just going to fill in the tree. And I ordinarily only ever use my brush tip, but when I have something this small, I definitely always feel the need to just use the dots with the bullet tip. I'm going to come back in and add some white with a gel pen for that. But I think what I want to do next is to die cut some of these things out. So I'm going to pull out the decal circles, and I'm going to pick the size that will fit on the front of the card well and get my whole image in here. So I like this. So I'm going to cut this out, just like this. I kind of want to center that church. And leave plenty of sky above. So I'm going to actually tape this down to hold it in place once I get it where I want it. I'll put a couple pieces of low-tack tape down. And I'm going to run this through my embossing machine. So my sandwich for this is platform 1. Then I use this little platform 2. And then I have my cutting plate, number 3. I have one that I do all my cutting on, so I put that on the bottom. I put my project next, and then I take the one that I try not to cut on. You can see I accidentally have cut on it a couple of times. And then I'm going to run this through. Peel this off. Even low-tack tape, you need to be careful, because even the low-tack stuff, once you run it through the embossing machine, can actually do some damage. Now, I could actually put this directly on here, like this, but I think what I really want to do is die cut this. And I need to figure out, I think this was like this. So I'm going to cut it with that in mind. And I'm going to pick a spot where I don't have any, messy white bits. Next step is to fussy cut. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to fussy cut along the top of the bank, and around the church. I do leave a little bit of white. I just like the way it looks. So I'll just keep trimming. And notice that I hold my scissors in one place and I'm just turning my paper. Instead of like turning my scissors, I just turn my paper. And you know what? Take your time. It's not a race. The only time it's a race is if you're taking a class and you're trying to follow along with someone and they're going really fast, because people who work at craft companies actually fussy cut all the time, and they are really good at it. I don't work at a craft company. Okay, so there we go. So now I can line this up with this. What happens if I don't line it up? What happens if I cut that piece that really bothers me and line this up? I actually think I'll be okay doing that, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn that over a little bit. And now I'm going to attach this with some dimensionals so it pops up a little bit. So I'll grab my Take-A-Pick tool. Okay, so that's that. Now I can cover up this. Alright, so I've got my focal image all done. And I actually really like the way that looks. To finish up my card, I went ahead and cut my card base. This is 4 1/4 by 11. I scored and folded it 5 1/2. Then I have this 4 by 5 1/2, 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white that I ran through that snowfall embossing folder, and I'm going to add some liquid glue on the back. And I want to get close to the edges of this, but I want to be careful not to put so much glue on that when I put it down it squishes out. I just really like to have the edges of the paper adhered really well to the card, especially the corners. I feel like it's a much more professional look when your layers are adhered properly. Okay, so I'm going to open this up and put this on just like this. So I'm going to have a fairly even amount, or hopefully an even amount of border around the edge of the card. The snowfall piece here, and I'm going to give all of the edges a good press. I did pretty good with that glue. My edges are sticking down nicely and I don't have any glue smushing through, so that's a good thing. So then I can put this anywhere I want to. You can put it toward the bottom if you want to, you know, whatever your heart's desire. You can put it in the center. Actually, that does look pretty nice. I think that's what I'm going to do. And again, I'm going to adhere this with glue because I'm sticking it to something that has embossing on it. Actually, the piece I'm sticking down has embossing on it, and the piece I'm sticking it to is embossed. So I really want that adhered well, and I want to get this on straight and centered. And I feel like that's really fun because you really get the feeling that this is a snowy scene, just like that. Okay, now I have this piece of scrap from when I cut down my panels. I have Merry Christmas all set up on my block, and I'm going to use the cherry cobbler. So I'm just going to dab that on a few times and hopefully get it straight on here. Just like that. Now you could put a layer of red around the edge. I actually did that to both of the cards I made earlier, and I really like that little touch of red, but sometimes there's an elegance to not having a ton of color on there as well. So you can put this anywhere you want. I think I want it to stretch all the way across here, so I'm actually going to pull out my trimmer and just trim this down to 4 inches. Okay, now I can just add this across. You could also add ribbon if you want to. I try not to add, I already added some dimension, so I try not to add too much dimension. That is going to be squished right out of that card. Because I do want to mail these, so you know, I don't want to add a ton of dimension. Although I am going to add a little bit of gold here because I do really like these little gold embellishments, these gold metallic embellishments. I feel like they add a little bit more of a sparkle feel to your night sky. And there you go. That completes my card. So this one wasn't, this one had a lot of steps. It wasn't super quick and easy, but it's such a pretty card. Like, there will be a few people where you want to send a really special card to, like your mother, because she's going to save the cards, if like she's like my mother. But that's a card that you would do that with. So let's take a look at a quick and easy card. On to my next card. I've actually run a piece of the Pretty Peacock through the Falling Snow embossing folder, and notice that I tipped it sideways because I'm hoping to get 2 tags out of this, and I wanted it to look like falling snow on the tags, so I very purposely did this just like this. And I probably should have cut the tags first and then run them through the die. I should have die cut the tags first and then run them through the embossing folder, but I wasn't thinking clearly about that. So I'm going to go run these and cut 2 of these tags. One will be for this project and one will be for another project. And I'm going to tape this down because it just fits. I cut the Pretty Peacock at 4 by 5 1/4. So definitely die cut first and then run through the embossing folder. You can see that it definitely smooshes down the embossing. I still have the pretty pattern on the back. I can probably highlight it with a little bit of white craft ink. I've got a little bit of white craft ink on this sponge, so I just want to highlight that snowfall stuff there. And so I'm just going to run this over both of these so you can at least see the snowfall-y scene. And if it's a little streaky, I'm okay with that because it'll just give it a little bit more character and texture. And I'm just lightly running it over. There we go. And that ink has been on there since yesterday, so that lasted quite a while. So I'm just going to take one of these, and I want to create a little scene again with these. And again, I'm going to do it with, I kept my die out because I want to use my die again. So I'm going to put my die right here where I can see it, because you know how that goes, right, friends? Like, why is this so crooked? There we go. So sorry that was so crooked. All right, so I want to create a little scene. Now I have not used, I've been playing a lot with this Yuletide Village, and I think these little double houses will fit nicely. So I want to actually have a little snowbank there and create my little scene, but still have a little bit of the tag showing to make it like a night sky. This pretty peacock is a new color for me. The last time I was with Stampin' Up, they did not have that as a color, and it's so pretty. It looks so beautiful when you pair it with Lost Lagoon and Pool Party and even Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana. Like, ugh, just gorgeous. Okay, so I'm really stamping this up, and I'm trying to like get all parts of my ink pad on here because it's not a flat ink pad, this Memento. So I always use Memento. Sometimes I want to actually create my image, like if I'm doing a furry critter or a critter of some kind, I will sometimes stamp in my dye ink. Like I might use pecan pie to stamp a hedgehog and then color it in with my blendabilities. Because you can do that with your dye inks. It actually does work, and they don't smear, believe it or not. So I'm just giving this a minute to soak into the paper. Beautiful, what a nice image. And you can always tell when you've done a good job inking because there's no ink left on your stamp. Like, you know you've done a good job there. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly color this stuff in and not make too much fuss about it. There, under the houses. Now I am going to go ahead and fussy cut out these houses. Well, actually, instead of, yes, I do need to fussy cut, but first I'm going to take and I'm going to run them through my die cutter. Now, whenever you're removing the tape, pull it like this at an angle very slowly. That helps prevent, no matter what masking tape you use, it's a really good practice to get into because it really does help. Now I do want to add a couple details on this because I have a bunch of little stamps I haven't used yet. I just pulled them out. There's a little tree that I'm liking. I think I want to add one of those little trees in my scene, like a tree without any leaves. And then there's also the evergreen tree that I've been using. Then there's this little brick wall, and I'm thinking that I would like to use this little brick wall on the side over here, or maybe on both sides. So I'm just going to ink this up, and I'm going to come over here and just stamp it like that. And then I'm going to just stamp it over on this side also, like that. And I'm going to wipe up my desk before I stick my arm in it, just like that. So now I've used that one, and while I have my ink pad out, I want to add one of these little trees. I'm going to put it down here, and it will go in front of the house, but now I've got a little tree there. And I'm thinking I might even like to add a little bit of, I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to put it over the top of my this masking tape that I just used before, and I'm going to put that over the brick I just did, and I'm going to stamp this tree back here. And hopefully it'll look like it's behind that little fence there. Alright, now I need to cut this down because I want to put my scene on this blue tag that I made, so I don't have to actually color in the sky this time. So this time I'm just going to fussy cut around all of my things. Alright, so there's that. Now I am going to add a little bit of detail to that brick that I added out there. I'm going to take this light pebbled path, and I'm just going to add a few dots to the side of each of these little bricks, like 2 or 3 dots along the right hand side, just to give those bricks a little bit of interest. I'm going to do the same thing over here. It'll be subtle, but I like the way it looks. It's just giving it a little bit more interest. And I do want to take, let's take my dark pecan pie and just give the tree a little color too. Both trees. So I'm just coloring the trunk and the branches. I'm just adding a little of the dark pecan pie. You can add dark and light if you want to. So I've got my scene done here, and it looks like that. I love to color. If you hate to color, add very little color. Just color the roof line and the windows and the bow on. You don't have to add any more color. Like, you can add very little color and it will still be beautiful. Okay, so I want to put this on like this, and I think I'm going to glue this right down. I'm not going to put dimensionals behind it because I want it to look like it's actually all one piece. And I also want to make sure that it sticks to this scene, to the tag that I've created, and I put a lot of glue on there. Probably should not have put quite so much on. It's going to smush out, but that's okay. I have a microfiber cloth right here next to me, and I will take a clean spot on my microfiber cloth and just dab up any that's smushing out like this. I really like that. There we go. Just a few more steps to get this card put together. I cut a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. This is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. I'm going to add this with some liquid glue to my card base. My card base is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored and folded it at 5 1/2. So I've got that all ready to go. And I'm going to, I always open it up. I just find it a little easier to get everything kind of even and even-ish. It's never perfect. I always look at it when I'm taking the picture and realize I just don't have that on there evenly. But it's good enough. Nobody seems to be fussy about that when you send them the card. And if somebody is that fussy about your cards, then buy that person a card. Just go buy him one. There's no reason to have the aggravation in your life to have somebody who's a little critical of your cards ever get one. And I'm going to put, this is white. This is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And I ran this through the Snowfall embossing folder. And I may be calling that the wrong name. Now, I put a little too much glue, so I'm just wiping it off with a microfiber cloth. And I just love that little peak of red around the edge there. Now, one other thing I definitely want to add, I want to add a ribbon. And I don't have any of the light white ribbon yet. I just ordered some of that. This is the satin edge ribbon, and it is gold. And I think gold is always a really nice touch for Christmas. So I'm going to tie this in a bow. And if I didn't say this before, this tag is from the Greetings of the Season set. And I think that I'm just going to glue this down, mostly because I'm sticking something that's been embossed down to something else that's been embossed, and I just find the liquid glue does a better job for me. And then I'm just going to give it a good press all around the edges. And I'm going to add a few of these gold, and I'm running out of the gold. I just love these. I just want to put 3 of these on here. So I'm going to put like 3 little stars, and I'm going to use the smaller ones on this one. Just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my sentiment. And I've got these sentiment strips that I'm enjoying, and I'm going to use one of these. This is actually perfect. It's cut just the right length. I've got the Merry Christmas all lined up because that's what I've been using. Merry Christmas and the Love and Joy one I think is really beautiful. And I'm going to try to center this the best that I can. Now I do have a little piece of cherry cobbler left. I could actually add underneath this if I wanted to. I think it's kind of a pretty detail, so I could add it above. Actually, I think I might go above. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue along the top edge of this, all the way across. And then I'm just going to have a little peak of this red sticking out. I do want it to be the same amount all along the whole sentiment. Just like that. You can play with your bow and make it perfect. Sometimes I put glue dots underneath my bows where I want the different parts to stick. So I kind of force it to work for me. So that's probably what I'll do. But there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and just stamp one of these little trees in Mossy Meadow on the inside. And I'll add a couple of little trees to the envelopes as well for all of these cards. Okay, so I've got the inside, and that is my card. Isn't that fun? That's a super fun card. So these are not quick and easy cards. Who was I kidding? It's very difficult to make quick and easy cards when you love to do techniques. So if you love to do techniques, then these are the cards for you, definitely. And if you only have a handful of them to make, it's not so bad to actually do a little bit of work on the card like this. All right, on to the next card. For my next card, I want to use some craft cardstock, and I pulled out a piece of cherry cobbler, and I've got white cardstock all ready to go. I'm going to move this piece. I'll save that for another project, or just make a pretty tag out of it. So I'm going to cut this. Actually, I'm going to start by stamping. I'm going to stamp these double houses here, and I thought I would stamp them on the craft cardstock this time just to see what that looks like. And I'm thinking that I still want to do it in the black. I do like black stamped images most of the time, not always, but I just find them easier. So I'm going to stamp these. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm just going to decorate these a little bit. So I'm going to take out the basic black, and I'm going to just do the parts that I like to have basic black. The window trims, the roof lines, just like that. And I'll take out the Poppy Parade, and I'll add a little bit of the dark just to give it some shade there. And then I'm going to pick a darker yellow. I think I'm going to pick the dark Daffodil Delight and color in the windows. Missed a little bit right here. All right. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do the doors. In the copper clay and crumb cake. Let's see if this will work. And then the pebbled path for the steps. And I forgot to do the bow in the red, so I'll bring that back out. Just like that. And then I'm going to grab my white gel pen. And for my white gel pen, I'm just going to go over the snow, the snowy parts. And I'll go over the snow in the roofs. There we go. Okay, and if you want to, you can add a little bit of, if I take the light crumb cake, I can add a little bit of shadow under the roof. Down this one side of the building between the two buildings. There we go. You can add some of the flicks. There we go. Just add a little detail with your markers. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I really want this gel pen to dry, but I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this out. Alright, so the one issue I am having with this craft cardstock is that I'm getting a little bit of bleeding. So I'm going to take my journaling pen and just go over some of the lines where I'm having the bleeding. Okay, so I've got that done, and pretty simple, nothing fancy, didn't require anything special, and I want to make a little white scene, and I really do love the shape of this. I really love the shape of this die. So I'm going to cut one of these out in white. So I went ahead and cut out the tag in white, and I had a little piece of scrap paper left over from one of my previous little houses, so I just cut the bottom part out there. And I do want to put this together. Let me make sure this is actually 5.5 inches. Okay, so I want to make sure this is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's just a little bit bigger than 5.5. I do want it to fit in my envelope, and I'm going to go ahead and actually score this at 4.25. And I'm going to cut this down. Let's see, how big is this? Okay, this is like 4 by 2.5. So I'm going to make this 3 inches. Is that going to be big enough? I think it will be. Let's go with 3.25. So I've got this. This is 3 1/4 by 4 and it looks like 3/8. So I just used a piece of scrap here, and I've got this. So I want to actually have a little layer of red behind this tag, with a lot of that craft cardstock showing through. And then I'll make my little scene on the tag and actually do this. Now I'm going to do a little tearing here on the bottom part of this, and I meant for it to be there. So that will look like my snowy bank. So I can put this down like this, and I'll have a snowy bank here. And I think I can get away with maybe stamping a couple of trees there as well. And I do want to have it look like it's snowing, so I've got the snowy stamp that comes in this stamp set. I love it. And I'm going to pull out that balmy blue. I've just been enjoying the balmy blue. This is actually a new color for me with Stampin' Up. So I'm going to put some snowfall along the top here. Let's see, how far down do I want to go? I actually think that's pretty good. Maybe I'll do a little bit over here in this bare space. There we go. That's good enough. So that's balmy blue. That actually looks pretty nice. And you could actually give the edge of this a little brush with the balmy blue if you wanted a little bit more detail there. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the front of this, right under that snowy bit, and try to kind of cover that up with my torn edge, just like that. Make sure it's straight on there. There we go. Okay, so that's good. Now, let's see, if I put this down here, I think I'm going to put one of these little trees, and again, like that. So that'll be that. But I think I want to add just a little bit of a green one over on the other side, or I could do, boy, that bow really ran. I'll tell you what, that red bow ran. I think I'm going to need to fix my door there a little bit. That Poppy Parade really bled. So I'm just going to add a little bit more color, but not go all the way to the lines, because it looks like it might spread out there. So it's going to have a red door on it. And I do want to put something over on this side, and I kind of feel like I want one of those trees, but the trees are pretty big. And I think I won't color in the tree. I'm just going to stamp part of it, and I'm going to only have a little bit of it showing here. So I'm going to stamp one of those, And when I put this back down, just a little bit of that tree will show. Just like that. And I guess I do want to color it in. But I am going to take the light old olive and just do a little bit of light old olive down the center of that tree. And now this is stamped on the white, so I should be okay. And we'll just let some of the white show through there. And I can always touch it up with the white gel pen if I want to. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. You could put this on dimensionals if you want to. But I just want to create a little scene. I'm just pulling out a brown here to the tree. So I'm coloring in the tree. Oh boy, these are really bleeding. I'm going to cover that up with my white gel pen. Alright, so that's what I have so far, and here's what I've got over here. And I could do my sentiment. That one won't fit. I wonder if there's a smaller one. I could do to you and yours. Let me see how big this is. To you and yours. I'm going to stamp this in Cherry Cobbler. I might just put a knot in this instead of a bow. And I sort of want to add a little bow, a little piece of ribbon around this. So I might just try it with a little piece and grab my glue dots. I also kind of want to make the edge of this kind of raggedy. So I've got my old Stampin' Up Distresser. This is pretty old. And I'm just going to, you can do this, oops, you can do this with your scissor edge. So if you hate that torn edge detail, don't add it to your card. Like, it's simple. You don't have to make a card exactly like someone else makes it, or you can make it exactly like someone else makes it, or you can take the details that you do like on the card and actually add them to the card you're making and just turn it into your own version of that. And try to get it in the center. I'm going to pop that up on some dimensionals. I haven't used too many dimensionals on my cards today. Okay, and I'm going to put this in the middle. Just like this. And I am going to tie a bow. I just want to see how I like it next to this. And I'm definitely going to add this to the side. There we go, just like that. And I'll put a couple of glue dots on the back of this to make it stick. And I do want to add a couple of these metallic elements just because I like them. You could add cherry cobbler things if you want to. I'm going to add some of the little ones. And I'm going to add the silver. And I'll just add them around the card. There we go. Just like that. So that's a pretty simple card. You can trim down your ribbons if you want to a little bit shorter. I'm going to leave mine. I'll just like fold them into the envelope when I send this out. I will add a white panel inside the card and stamp a couple of trees, but that's going to complete that card. Pretty quick and simple. So that's my third card. So I have this left, and I definitely think that I'm going to make a tag out of this. So I've got my greenery bits here, and I've got a couple different things. I love this peacock with this cherry cobbler, and I like to have a little white with it too, so I'm thinking that I might use this one, or even this one. I think I'll cut both of these in white, and I'll cut this one in the cherry cobbler. I just finished doing my die cutting, and here is one tip that I'm going to give you. This is like a hard-earned tip for me because my desk at this point in the crafty session is messy. It's easy to lose stuff, and I feel like my desk shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until I just have a little workspace in front of me as I'm creating. So my best tip is to immediately, as soon as you are done with your die cutting, you're going to put the die cuts away back onto the sheet. And I store mine in these vinyl sleeves in a Totally Tiffany fab file, and I love the system. It's working great for me. You have to find a system that works for you, but this really works for me. So that's what I'm doing and what I will continue to do. And then I just slide them back in the envelopes. The magnets I got off Amazon, and they're the magnets and the sleeves I got off Amazon. Some of the sleeves have tops over them. This works just fine, but I'll then store it in my Totally Tiffany fab file, which looks like this. It holds all my dies like that, and I don't lose my dies. Too many times I haven't immediately put my stuff away, and my stuff is then gone. So I'm more careful now. So the next thing I'm going to do, I want to put a tag together. So I want to create a little scene on the tag, and I'm going to stamp my church and a couple of trees. And again, I'll do my stamping in the memento. I'll do a little bit. So I've got all my pieces cut out. I'm going to stamp this love and joy because I really like this sentiment. And I'm stamping it in the cherry cobbler just because I love this color. This is my favorite color at holiday time and at Valentine's Day and other points during the year, but I love it. So I've got that. And now I want to just kind of put these together somehow. Maybe I'll just add a couple of glue dots here and make a little bit of a scene. So it sort of looks like They're somewhere behind this church. I'm going to put this one there. And I'm putting this one there. So I've got a little scene there, and I'm going to add that on that. And I think I want to move this in a little bit or down because it looks kind of weird sticking out there. So I want to move this more behind this one, and I think I might trim. I kind of just cut here, but I think I'll trim a little bit more there so that I can tuck this down in here a little bit more. So it looks like it's up behind. So it looks like I've got a church surrounded by the trees like that. And I can add this on. I like it. I'll just add a few glue dots. I could add this onto here if I wanted to. And then just, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. That's absolutely what I want to do. So I'm going to glue this down, that with some dimensionals. Put them together so you have beautiful tags. I love making Christmas tags. You could do the gold if you wanted to. I think I'm not going to, maybe I will put a couple of these, but I think I might try, actually I'll try a couple of these larger silver ones. There we go. So I've got a little Christmas tag. Okay, so at the beginning of the video, I might have said I was going to make some quick and easy Christmas cards. That didn't turn out to be true. They were all pretty time consuming, but I do love all of the cards that I made. And I've got a couple of cards that I made in a previous video that I did quite a bit of coloring on, and I have some coloring instruction. So there you go, friends. I hope you like this. This is 2 videos. This video has these 4. I really love the color combinations that I used here. And you know, you could put a cherry red mat here. You could take the cherry mat off. You know, same thing here. You can put this on a white card base, like, or a black card base. Like, you can really play around with the designs and make them your own. Use what you have in your stash. You don't have to go out and buy new stuff. And maybe you don't have the Yuletide Village stamp set, or the Greetings of the Season stamp set, or even the Snowfall embossing folder, but you might have something that would work just as well to create these little village looks. I just love them. I think they're so much fun. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this. I would love it if you leave me a comment below and give me a thumbs up here. And if you're new here, I would love you to subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notifications every time I upload a video. And again, if you would like to make a purchase from Stampin' Up! In my online store, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And so there you go. Thanks so much for watching, friends. I hope you have a wonderful day.